When you first start posting content, it feels so fun, you're passionate, you're getting creative, it feels almost so easy. And then, bam, all of a sudden, you start hitting this point where you're overthinking. You're thinking about the metric. You're thinking what's gonna work, especially when it's not just something that you do. It's part of your business, your marketing, how you get paid as a creator. It's taking out the magnetism that was under your content and fueling and making your content so powerful in the first place. And your content, it's not supposed to feel heavy or hard, all right? It's actually supposed to feel magnetic. Welcome to the Power of Personal Branding and Manifestation podcast. It's me, your host, Malika. Hello, hi, nice to meet you. Oh my God, I don't know if you have noticed, but I am slowly transforming my studio room and I'm actually loving it. Like, for so long, my walls were blank and it was really uninspiring me. And now it's adding some pop, some colors. We're getting the room done. It's not done yet, but it's getting there. If you are not already subscribed to the podcast, definitely do that right now. And let's get into it, okay? Because there is a very special phenomenon that starts happening when your content is not just you being silly and having fun anymore. It's actually tied into your business. It's actually tied to the gateway that takes you from where you are, point A, to point B, where you want to go, right? That's growing your business, having more clients, getting paid, like being a creator, like whatever, right? All of these things. It starts becoming not just something that's silly and fun, but it starts becoming this thing where it's like, okay, like this needs to perform if I want to get to point B. You want it to do well, you want it to perform, you want it to do what you want your content to be doing for you. But I find that at some point that starts almost suffocating the content that you want to be doing so much for you, that sometimes we almost forget that the best kind of content is actually the shit that fires you up the most, not the things that you feel like you are under all of this pressure where you're suffocating almost. Sometimes you think, okay, like this is gonna serve me, this is gonna like make me so much better, and like I'm gonna have content that is super fire if I'm putting all this pressure on myself. Most of the time it actually does the opposite, where you almost start like dreading it and you start losing your passion for it and you start losing the magnetism and the fun that like actually did serve you in the first place, that actually brought you the most in the first place, and your business and your content creation in the first place. And that's exactly why sometimes your content starts to feel stiff, uninspiring, and low-key heavy for no reason, when you actually know you could be loving it. And so in order for you to feel like you are thriving when you are creating your content, so that it can actually perform its best, it can actually get that magnetism back, instead of asking, you know, what is going to perform? What is my audience wants from me, right? What do you actually want to share? What do I actually have to say, right? Because if every single piece of creating your content starts with what's the topic that's going to perform, what's going to convert, you know, what does my audience need, or what's the perfect hook, then that shifts your content from you expressing yourself, you expressing your impact and your mission, to constant performing. There's not enough things about it that excites you because it feels so restrictive, right? Like the things of like, what's gonna perform, what's good, what does my client want, what's my audience wants to see, like, oh, what are these people bigger than me doing, so maybe I should do that. It's like your content, again, removing the things that are suffocating the passion out of your content. And so when I think of like enjoying your creative process again, okay, the number one thing is to truly being able to step away from ChatGPT, because I find that ChatGPT really makes you second guess your genuine voice, right? Like I can feel like everyone can feel when something or a piece of content has a ChatGPT accent. Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I've heard someone use that term, like ChatGPT accent, which is quite funny. I find you can tell when a piece of content feels like maybe ChatGPT cleaned it up for it to be flowing better, versus like ChatGPT wrote the seed of the idea. You know what I mean? There's something that starts happening when you start relying on a tool to get your creative juice going that you start diminishing your own skill, right? But like when we want to improve our own skill, like we cannot be relying on something else. Like in like sometimes like you need to like be like struggling a bit at first so that you can get more creativity and you can nail down your own creative process. It's truly being able to step away from like AI, and I feel like it's so easy not like to go for it because it's so accessible. It's so like at your fingertip, right? But that almost removes like your voice and it starts giving you again this like ChatGPT accent, and it doesn't get you in the zone. Like it doesn't get you in the zone of like connecting with your content. And that's also why it's so important to stop doom scrolling in order for you to find inspiration. This is something that is, again, so easy to do. It almost does not really help. It doesn't really help make your content fun. It creates comparison. It makes you like doubt your own ideas because now you're thinking, oh my God, like this person is doing like this, maybe I should do like this. And you start losing touch with, again, like your own magnetism, which is what we want to come back to for your content to feel not only fun, but genuinely serve you and your personal brand the most. That is something that can feel harder to do at first if you're not used to trusting your own creative process or your own creativity at first. It can feel like more scary because it requires you to rely way more on your own brain and your own creativity, which can feel scary at first, right? But it's part of the creative process because, again, like you don't want to be losing your voice, don't want to be losing your creativity to maybe other people's magnetism, that this is how they thrive in their creativity, this is how they thrive in their content. But maybe that's not how you will thrive, and maybe that's why you feel like you're not really thriving when you're creating your content right now. And so how the hell do you actually start to enjoy creating your content again? Okay, and the answer to that, it comes down to two things. Okay, making it simple and making it fun. These two things together are the best combo. So okay, these are my content pillars. If you don't know what your content pillars are, okay, these are basically your topic that maybe you have 4 that you rotate in between. What's the conversation that I would love to have in a cute coffee shop with my dream client? Or what's the conversation that I'd love to have with my dream audience that's like we're having coffee and we're like talking with each other? Like, what is the actual conversation that you would like to have? That starts making your content so much more fun and so much more simple in a way of like you have actually like the right direction. You're not trying to go into like what's gonna perform well, which should be more at the end of the process, not at the top of the process. Perfect example, this episode, literally this is a conversation that like I can have with my clients. And so it's something that I'm also very passionate about and I find super interesting because I can bring my own perspective into it. And I have that passion for it, right? I have that passion for that topic. What would represent so well what you stand for, right? And so when you think of like the impact that you want to bring or what you want to be proud of, regardless of how it performed, regardless of who sees it, right? Like, what would you genuinely feel proud of? What would genuinely be such a good representation of you as a creator, of you as an entrepreneur, of you as a business, right? And so all of these things kind of like asking the right question towards like what genuinely lights you up, that you love to talk about, that you love to show up in or show up as, right? And that is how you start to make your content feel magnetic again and feel that creativity and that fun. Really get that spark again for your content and fuel that passion, because sometimes it's not that you don't have ideas or that you don't have inspiration. This is something that I find very interesting where it's like, oh, but I don't feel inspired. But I don't believe that there's not enough inspiration. I don't believe that there is not enough ideas that you have. I just think most of the time it's actually buried under all of the pressure, under all of the like anticipation of like, what's my audience gonna watch? Or like, is this good enough? Will this get views? Like, will this perform? Will this sell? Will this like, all of these things, which is like, I don't think there's a lack of inspiration. I think there's too much doubt on top of the inspiration, on top of the ideas, that it's getting buried, and it's getting that the passion is fading because there's so much pressure. Which, don't get me wrong, like, it's amazing to have, you know, your sense of direction, which is like, you want your content to do this, but we want to make sure that, like, that's not suffocating the very thing that actually would serve you the most, right? And I can speak on this because I myself have gone through this many times, and I've had to sit down and ask myself, especially because I've been doing content for so many years now, which is like, you know, when I would have periods of time where I had that like sense of like, I don't feel like it's magnetic, I feel like my content is becoming this chore, I feel like it's not that fun, like what is it? And most of the time it would be this, it would come down to this. It's not like there's not enough inspiration, there's not enough idea, there's not enough passion. It's that it's getting buried. It's getting buried under all the pressure and anticipation that, you know, we are thinking, oh my God, this is gonna serve me, this is gonna serve me, and ends up backfiring on you. And so rule number one for this, okay, to making it magnetic again, is to stop suffocating your ideas before they become great. Can't like be, oh, let me get inspired, let me get the best idea, let me also see what my clients want, and let me also see what my audience will want from me, and let me audit to my ideas at the same time that I'm trying to get inspired, and let me like also make that so that it performs the best. You are suffocating your idea, okay? It's kind of like expecting you to do all of the fucking step in one step. Like, these things are like at least like 4 steps, okay? Before you want to audit your idea, before you want to refine and ask like, okay, like, how can I make this so it performs the best, you want to just let your brain be messy, right? I think there's a part of like creation that like people have stopped to see as normal, that is like, sometimes you do have to get messy. Sometimes you take a fucking blank paper, you write a bunch of shit that don't make sense, and you pull out the best things from it. But I find that like there's this curated thing online which is like, okay, like everything is super organized. For example, for this video, like when you are watching this video or this episode, you're listening to this episode, it's like, it feels very organized, but like it wasn't organized at first. When I wrote down my idea, it was very messy. You know what I mean? And so I feel like there's this process in your creation that like, you know, I feel that like the better you get at it, the more that sometimes you can get it less messy. But it's still a thing. I think it's still a thing of like letting yourself get inspired and brainstorm, and not like expect that first idea, that first original idea, to be like your end all be all. You know what I mean? And that does require getting in the right headspace, right? Like getting in the right headspace for you to get inspired, to feel inspired, and not just expecting that inspiration to like come hit you in the head. Like, you know what I mean? So you're going on a walk and you are not listening to anything, you're doing like no stimulation, or like you're having conversation with clients and you're paying attention at the end of your day, like, oh my God, like I had this conversation with the client, or like I had this conversation with the person, and like that was super interesting. Well, that's actually something that I want to bring up. Rule number 2 is knowing exactly what about your creative process, or what about like creating content do you dread right now, and is it like a good kind of dreading, which is like expending you. Let's say you're not used to, for example, doing as many like talking head videos, right? And you're like kind of dreading it. Is it like because it's stretching you, or is it dreading it because you're thinking, oh my God, I need to tailor it to the algorithm, oh my God, I need that, whatever, right? Because at the end of the day, the better that you get at the skill of delivering your content, the better your content will perform. So it's not so much like focusing on the outside things, but it's about like nurturing that skill. But back to my point, okay, what the hell do you dread about your content? And actually do a list of like all the things that like you feel like it's dreading you. And if it's stretching you, then good, amazing, keep it. But if it's actually some stuff that you're just not in the right headspace, you're not focusing on the right things, then remove it from your creative process. Okay. And then rule number 3 is making a process to create your content that you actually love. For example, for me, I know that, okay, part of like loving me creating content is having enough energy. So that means I need to sleep well. I need to be in the mood to like talk. And so maybe I'm gonna put some music. I'm gonna get myself in the mood. I'm also gonna make myself in the right headspace where I'm not actually performing. I'm just genuinely talking, because your energy is very translated. I know that something that I dread about creating content is when I feel like I'm performing, I'm reciting like a text, okay? I know like part of loving my creative process of like filming content is going to be not feeling like I'm out here performing, not feeling like I'm out here with like a presenter hat on, or that I feel like I need to say all of the right words, but just I get to share my perspective and you get your creativity coming to you, which is the next thing that I really want to touch on, which is finding your inspiration. And most importantly, I find like finding your own creativity, because I know if you're listening to this, like I know you are probably a creative girl or an artsy girl, or like you know, like I just know, okay, all the girls out here, like you, I feel like you are creative. Like that's just a thing about you. I feel like there's inspiration all around you, and I don't find, like I said before, like I don't think people need more inspiration. I think that like there's just needs to be less overthinking of your ideas, of your creativity, and making it more simple, making it like simplifying how you get your ideas or where you get your ideas from, so that you're not out here sitting at your desk being like, inspiration hit me in the head. And something that I love to ask myself is, if you already had the validation that people would care, that people would want to hear the conversation that you're starting, that people would like to be in the energy that you want to be sharing, right? What would you allow yourself to do? What would you allow yourself to like share or to create your content around? Like that is such a powerful thing to start asking yourself. And this is something that I always say and I'll keep saying, okay? But an idea isn't great because it's never been done before, okay? A piece of content isn't great because it's never been done before. It's about how you deliver it. It's about your perspective. It's about the way that you are bringing it to life. For example, I'm sure that there's many people that could have talked about this very topic that I'm talking about, which is kind of like feeling like your content is like a chore and you don't feel inspired and whatever. But you know, I am bringing my own perspective to it. I'm not like out here looking at other people, what they are saying about it. Like I'm genuinely feeling passionate about this. And this is the key. This is the key to truly finding more inspiration. It's like pulling from the shit that you know you were passionate about. Like I find that like you can't force inspiration. Like inspiration is fueled by passion. And the more that you get to remove that pressure, that outside pressure, right, the more that you will get to find your own magnetism. Pressure changes what your brain actually starts paying attention to, right? Because when you think of like feeling inspired, again, it's fueled by passion. And so that's when your attention is really focused on curiosity, expression, ideas, conversation, helping, experimenting, like impact, right? Like the very thing that like I know that all of you actually genuinely cares about so much. But on the opposite end, when your brain is so focused on like the overthinking, the pressure part, busy calculating, you know, the result, all these things, it becomes very hard to hear your inspiration and tune into your natural magnetism when your mind is so busy focusing and calculating on all of the results. And the perfect analogy that I have for this is, imagine that you are planting a seed, right? And so your job for the seed is to plant it, water it, give it sunlight, make sure that like you are taking care of it, right? And the seed's job is to grow. But if instead of planting it, watering the seed, doing all these things, you're actually going over the seed and saying like, okay, grow faster. Why isn't it a plant yet? You know, I hope that this seed becomes amazing. Then like, while all these things seems like, okay, this is gonna make the seed grow faster, it doesn't, because what makes the seed grow faster is actually planting it, watering it, giving it sunlight, right? And this is the same when it comes to your content. It's kind of like sometimes when you are trying to do the step 1, you're too focused on step 3 that like you're not genuinely into step 1. Okay. And so this is the thing that I want to really talk about, which is kind of like the more that you're focusing on the next step while you are not even done the first step, then the less you are actually focusing on the things that you can control or that you are actually doing, right? Your job is just to be planting the seed, watering the seed. That is when you are finding your inspiration, when you are creating, right? Then after you've created, then you get to refine. For example, you're refining the packaging of your content. You're refining, okay, what is actually gonna hit, what's actually going to make people stop scrolling. And this doesn't just allow you to be way more present in your content, but it actually allows you to have way more fun when you are doing your content, because you're not focusing on the outcome. You're not focusing already on like all of these things. Like, you have created it, you have refined it, and you get to film and create and just have fun delivering it. The more that you can lean into your voice, the way that you naturally deliver your content, the more is that it doesn't just feel more magnetic, but it starts to become this thing where people start to know your voice. Like, they start to know like how you deliver your content. It starts to feel way more unique to you, and it starts to feel way more fun with you, because you're not like tailoring yourself to these outside things. You are naturally being like, okay, this is how I naturally deliver my shit. And sure, like, there's a way that like you can make it like grab attention better and everything, but it's still rooted in like your voice, like the way that you naturally get creative, right? And so this is the part that starts to make it more fun. Like, this is the part where you get to be in your energy, you get to be present. And I find like your energy is such a big part of like your content. I find that like a lot of the times, like, this is not something that a lot of people talk about, which is like your energy in your content. That is part of making it fun. Like, what is your energy, right? What is like the energy that you are in? It follows your attention, right? And so if you're focusing constantly on like analytics, notification, comparison, opinions, like getting that hit of dopamine when you like look at your analytics, then your brain is always constantly staying in like this evaluation mode of like, is this good enough? Like, am I good enough? Is this gonna work well, whatever, right? But when your attention is focused on interesting conversation, your own thoughts, things that you are noticing, like impact, your mission, the questions that you're asking, like, that's when it becomes fun. And not only fun, but it actually creates way more impact than any of these other elements could ever create, because now you're actually focusing on the very things that creates the outcome that you want. But the outcome that you want doesn't necessarily happen because you're focusing on the end outcome, right? Which is like the analytics, the clients, all the things. Most of the times it comes from focusing on the right things, which is the interesting conversation, the impact, the mission, your unique angle, your unique perspective that you are bringing to the table, right? All of these things are the things that boost the outcome. But by focusing on the outcome, it doesn't actually boost the thing that creates the outcome. And one of the biggest shifts that you can make is getting into the mindset that not every single piece of content is meant to carry your entire business, your entire career, your entire reputation. Okay, like, it's about starting to think as your content as its own algorithm. You are creating your own algorithm, and that is stacking on top of each other. That is compounding on itself for you. And every single piece of content doesn't need to be the biggest hit. It doesn't need to be the one piece of content that carries everything out. Like, they compound on each other. This is truly a reminder, okay, that you are meant to love what you are creating. You are meant to love the content that you are posting. It's not because something feels hard or difficult that means that it's gonna perform better. If it's hard to create, if it's hard to do, like, measuring how something will do is not measured by like how hard it feels or how unfun it feels, right? Most of the time, like, your content, it's not actually meant to feel heavy. It will actually do more for you when it doesn't feel heavy, when it feels magnetic. because that gets translated, and that's when most cases your personal brand thrives on your magnetism, on what you are bringing to the table. And that is exactly like when you think of like someone who creates their content from magnetism, from the impact that they want to bring, from the genuine passion that they have, like how much more powerful is that compared to someone who does it like dreading it and being like, oh my god, I have to do this, or oh my god, like yeah, like this doesn't feel really fun. Like it's not the same energy, and one serves you so much more than the other. And this is why it doesn't need to come down to, okay, how hard does my content feel to create? It's more like, how magnetic is it? Like, how much is it actually serving me? And how can I enjoy my creative process? And it doesn't need to feel like this heavy thing. It gets to be this fun, magnetic thing that is just an extension of the passion that you already have for your career, that you already have for your business, that you already have as an entrepreneur. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to be an extension of your passion, the things that you want to bring into the world, how you are different, that gets you all of these results that you are using content as a doorway towards. Okay, so if you love this episode, definitely share it to someone who absolutely needs to hear this and is maybe suffocating under all of the content advice or maybe all of the pressure. Okay, and I will meet you back here next week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to leave your 5-star rate and review on the podcast. I love to know what you guys think of the episodes, and I will meet you here next week.